What's going on, Bottom Line viewers? It's Mitch here of the Bottom Line View, back with another NFL video. These are the 10 players that will have the biggest season in return to prominence in 2017. These are players that didn't quite live up to their potential in 2016 or were simply injured and couldn't play. Players made this list depending on a number of variables. How much will we be discussing this player after and during next season, while also taking into account the odds of coming back and having a bounce back year. Let's start off with number 10. At number 10, I have Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann Mathieu had 10 games played last year, had 35 tackles, 1 sack, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble, and 4 pass deflections. Now, that's not quite a honey badger status of season. We were expecting Tyrann Mathieu to come back, have a great year after having a very good one with the Cardinals last season, taking them as far as the NFC Championship. But this season, the Cardinals fell off, and so did the play of the Honey Badger. Now, he's a very dynamic defensive playmaker, and just to me, I think he'll have a bounce-back season because there's not many like him in the NFL that can do as many things as he can do at the elite level that he can do it. He can play 2 positions at an elite level. He can play free safety, he can play slot corner, and he could probably make the Pro Bowl in both of those positions. So for me, he's the biggest difference maker for Arizona's defense. Move aside Patrick Peterson, Mathieu has proven to be the unsung hero of that team, and I think that having him back will not only boost the Cardinals, but will allow people to realize once again that Mathieu is one of the better safeties in the NFL. That's why I have Tyrann Mathieu at number 10 on my biggest bounce-back seasons in 2017. At number 9, I have Tyler Eifert. Tyler Eifert had 29 catches, 394 yards, and 5 touchdowns in 8 games in 2016. Eifert really had a breakout season the season previous and got injured in the Pro Bowl. Now that sucks, and the reason why Eifert wasn't really living up to his potential in those last 8 games or the last half of the season was for a couple of reasons. He's going to benefit from having back one of the best receivers in the NFL alongside him in the offense. A.J. Green was injured for a large portion of time while Eifert was able to play in those last 8 games, and that will allow Eifert to belong where he belongs, and that's as the second option in Cincinnati's passing game. A.J. Green will open up some options down the middle for Cincinnati's offense, including Tyler Eifert, and that will allow him to get more catches, more yards, and more touchdowns. And then you also look at the fact that the guy was injured. He was injured to start the season. He only got to play half the season. So just there, you look at adding maybe 2 times of his total. He could have had 10 touchdowns on the year. He could have had 800 yards on the year. He could have possibly had 60 receptions on the year. So if you look at his stats and times it by 2, that's a pretty good season. But not only that, he was never able to get into the rhythm that he was able to get into last year. You know, with a guy that's coming back from injury, it's always tough to play at 100% the way that you want to play without having a training camp, without getting to the rhythm that everybody else is at in the middle of the year. It's very difficult for a player to not get those weeks 1, week 2, week 3, week 4 games in before starting in week 9. You know, so Eifert will be back, and I think he'll have a great season, maybe the best season of his career in 2017, with a huge bounce back effort, being one of the better tight ends in the NFL once again. At number 8, I have Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall played 15 games in 2016, so he wasn't often injured, but then again, he was kind of banged up all season long. He had 788 yards and 3 touchdowns on the year. Not a typical Brandon Marshall year, but you have to look at the variables surrounding Brandon Marshall. He had many different versions of a crappy quarterback last year. There was Hackenberg, there was Fitzpatrick, there was numerous guys that came in and were just absolute crap at the quarterback position for the New York Jets. Brandon Marshall won't have to deal with that. He won't have to deal with being disinterested in the team, a team that was looking to lose as many games as possible, a team that wasn't a playoff contender, and a team that wasn't allowing Brandon Marshall to be at his best because of the quarterback play or the help around him. Eric Decker went down with an injury that caused the Jets and every team that played against the Jets to double team Brandon Marshall constantly. Now you look and he goes to New York, the other New York with the Giants. Now he has a quarterback that's at least going to play all 16 games. He is at least an experienced quarterback, and he's arguably a Hall of Famer. And you add Brandon Marshall into that mix with Odell Beckham, where Odell Beckham is in his prime. He's what Brandon Marshall used to be in his prime. You take away those double teams constantly. Hopefully Brandon Marshall isn't as banged up with injuries this year, and you could see Brandon Marshall's absolute output of stats go way up. He is likely to play for the best team that he's ever played for, arguably the best quarterback he's ever played for, and he's going to not draw those double teams constantly because you have Odell Beckham on the opposite side of the field. So for me, Brandon Marshall is a no-brainer to have a bounce-back season in 2017. At number 7, I have Allen Robinson of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Robinson in 2016 had 73 catches, 883 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Robinson is just too athletically gifted to let down any fantasy football fan or Jacksonville Jaguar fan again in 2017. Sure, the guy had some issues with the quarterback play in Jacksonville. Trust me, I despise Blake Bortles as a quarterback, but Allen Robinson should be able to shake that off in 2017, no matter who his quarterback is, although that's a huge question going into this season. He's just too good. And I think the main thing with Robinson is, despite all his physical attributes, his great hands, his great ability to run routes and create separation for himself, the biggest plus for this offseason, well, there's actually two, is that the first one is that they have had a coaching change in Jacksonville. There's a different coach. There's a different voice for that offense. That's a positive thing. They've also had a new management with Tom Coughlin. And what has that new management done? It's supported the team with not only a couple pieces on the offensive side, but a great defense, at least on paper. And the Jacksonville defense last year really wasn't that bad. You add a few key pieces that they got in the offseason with A.J. Bouye and with Calais Campbell and others. And now you create a strong top unit on defense that can give more opportunities for guys like Allen Robinson on the offense and keep the pressure off of them. So I think that Allen Robinson will have a big bounce back season. At number 7 on my top 10 bounce back seasons of 2017. At number 6, I have Justin Houston of the Kansas City Chiefs. Justin Houston hasn't really been his sack master of himself in the last couple of seasons. But in 2017, I expect Justin Houston to be back in old form. He played 5 games in 2016 because of injury, had 4 sacks in those 5 games, but you could clearly tell in those 5 games, this guy is still one of the most dominant, not only outside linebackers, not only pass rushers, but defensive players in the NFL. He's still dominant. He's just been injured. And if he can piece together a full season, he would be atop the sack and pass rusher list once again. You saw what he did against Denver, what he can do when he's healthy. Not many defensive players are able to take over games and are capable of taking over games the way that Justin Houston can as a pass rusher, as a defensive player. And Houston is on the short list of guys like that can totally flip a franchise, that can totally flip a game, and can totally flip a team from season to season. So I think Justin Houston will have a big bounce back year in 2017. At number 5, I have Todd Gurley, the running back of the Los Angeles Rams. In 2015, we saw a Todd Gurley that was a rookie that came in and that shocked the NFL, sent waves through the NFL, and we were looking at the next up-and-coming Adrian Peterson of the NFL. But in 2016, Todd Gurley had a down year. He only ran for 885 yards, 3.2 yards per carry, and 6 touchdowns. Now, a lot of that had to do with the team around him. He had to deal with a rookie quarterback coming in Jared Goff. He had to deal with some crappy coaching from Jeff Fisher. He had to deal with a defense that wasn't as good as they once were. And he had to deal with an absolutely horrendous offensive line that couldn't open any holes whatsoever for Todd Gurley. But in 2017, I see things going differently for Gurley. The pick that you thought you were going to get in fantasy last year may come this season. The Rams signed Andrew Whitworth, who is still one of the best tackles in the NFL. They changed their coach to a more offensive-minded coach. And now they are going to get a full season with essentially a rookie quarterback under center. Sean McVay will take Jared Goff and that offense, completely flip it on his head. It will get playmakers like Todd Gurley, like Tavon Austin, and those other playmakers on the offense into better situations. Sean McVay is more of a creative mind on the offensive side of the ball than Jeff Fisher could ever dream. So for me, this offense will become a run-first offense behind a little bit of an improved offensive line with a rookie quarterback under center that will be using his running back as much as he possibly can. So I think Todd Gurley will have a big-time bounce-back season in 2017. At number 4, I have DeAndre Hopkins. Now, DeAndre Hopkins didn't have a terrible year for any wide receiver or any average wide receiver's perspective. He had 78 receptions, 954 yards, and 4 touchdowns in 2016. But what we expected from DeAndre Hopkins was top-notch Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham, and Julio Jones type of numbers. We didn't see that last year. And the major reason we didn't see that was because of the offense that surrounded Brock Osweiler. Brock Osweiler was the main reason why this offense was a short passing game and a run game first offense. In 2017, we'll see O'Brien go back to more of a spread it out and throw the ball down the field to their big-time wide receivers type of offense. I think that DeAndre Hopkins still has the skill set and still has the ability in the prime of his career to have an absolute great season and once again go over 1,000 yards and get more touchdowns than just 4 in 2016. I think DeAndre Hopkins is actually one of the bigger locks to have a great season in 2017 due to the quarterback change and due to the offensive mindset that will go with the Texans in 2017. They have a great defense. They can rely on that great defense to make plays, thus creating more opportunities to take chances with their offense. DeAndre Hopkins had 2 1,000-yard seasons before last year. I think he'll get back on track and have a great 2017. At number 3, this was an interesting placement because I know that a lot of people look at Russell Wilson and they say, hey, he's still a great quarterback. He's still an upper echelon quarterback. But Russell Wilson didn't have a great season last year. He only threw for 21 touchdowns. He ran for 294 less yards than he did the previous year. And he had a career-high 11 interceptions. So Russell Wilson may not have the biggest bounce-back season, but I think he's going to have one of the bigger returns to prominence in 2017. I think we're going to see Russell Wilson be more like Russell Wilson in 2017. Knee, ankle, and pectoral injuries hampered Wilson for several weeks during the middle of the season last year, but he really did turn it around over the last few weeks of last regular season. He averaged an 111.8 quarterback rating. That's much greater than the 92.6 mark that he averaged over the entire last season. His ability to scramble should come back into the fold a lot quicker than it did last year because he won't be having to deal with all these injuries. I know a big storyline for the Seahawks last year was what's wrong with Russell Wilson? When will he be able to run and complement his arm? And I think in 2017, he'll be back to 100%. He's got all the baby drama out of the way. And I think he'll be back focused on football with no distractions and getting his legs and his arm working for that Seattle offense. Hopefully that offensive line will improve a little bit and Wilson will have the time to become what he was becoming over the last few seasons. I think his run game will improve from last year, and with his run game will come his pass game and less interceptions. So Russell Wilson comes in at number 3 for the top 10 players that will bounce back in 2017. At number 2, this was very tough because you could easily put him at number 1, but I have Rob Gronkowski. Rob Gronkowski played 8 games in 2016, once again was injured, had 25 receptions, 540 yards, and a 21.6 yards per catch with 3 touchdowns. Now, Gronk has had multiple serious injuries and broken bones, torn ACLs, back surgeries, yet he still remains the most physically imposing target and even player in the NFL. You look at his stats, and he really didn't play 8 games. He probably played closer to 5 because really, Gronk wasn't 100% healthy in most of those games. Even at the beginning of the year, he was coming off a little bit of an injury, and then he had to come back into his own. Once he got on a roll, he had a few great games. He had the highest average yards per catch for tight end in NFL history at that point with 21.6, which is freaking ridiculous. But now you look at Gronk, and a lot of people were questioning him after his back injury. Will he ever be the same? Will he ever become Rob Gronkowski of the past? Will he ever be Gronk once again? But you look at his absolutely crazy strategy to come back, his commitment to be a Patriot and to be an NFL player, and you see how hard he works. You see his workouts. Go to his Instagram, go to YouTube. You'll see this guy putting in the work to come back. And really, by the time it was the Super Bowl, this guy probably could have played. He looks like he's 100% already. And you see him at WrestleMania, and he's already running around and tackling people. So for me, Rob Gronkowski is going to come back in 2017, once again reclaim his spot as the number 1 tight end in the NFL, once again place the Patriots as one of the better teams in the NFL, once again help the Patriots defend their crown, and Gronk will be back at 100% with his connection with Tom Brady. It's almost a lock. If Gronk gets injured, that's a different story, but if he remains healthy, you're looking at Gronk as an All-Pro in 2017. At number 1, another guy that is potentially a lock to be an All-Pro in 2017 that wasn't in 2016, that's J.J. Watt. Now, J.J. Watt, similar to Gronk, similar players on opposite sides of the ball. He played 3 games in 2016. He had 1.5 sacks. But he was injured even before the season, and he was kind of dealing with some back issues. Now, both of these players are very comparable in the fact that their side of the ball, without them, did very well. I mean, J.J. Watt is a 3-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, and even without him, the Texans finished as the number 1 defense in yardage given up in 2016. That was due to guys like Jadeveon Clowney coming into his own and becoming one of the better defensive players in the entire NFL. Whitney Merciless becoming one of the better pass rushers in the NFL. And now you throw in J.J. Watt. Even if he's not the same player, this guy's easily going to become, 12 plus sacks. Even if he's taken 1 step back, which he'll still be the best player in the NFL, or best defensive player in the NFL. So this defense is going to be absolutely loaded and shredding offenses through their pass rush. J.J. Watt comes back, throw those other 2 guys on the edges. It's going to be an absolute sight to behold for that Texans defense. And this guy is the guy that transformed the Houston franchise into a winning franchise. Before J.J. Watt, the Texans weren't a winning team. Now he has a full year to recover. He's the guy that transformed their franchise. He's the most beloved guy in Houston. He comes back. He's going to be 100%. He's going to be back in that Defensive Player of the Year status. Will he ever win another one? I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure how he'll respond, but it looked like he was doing really well in his recovery, even in the playoffs when the Texans went up to lose to the Patriots in the playoffs. So for me, again, J.J. Watt's got to be number 1. Rob Gronkowski, a close number 2. Russell Wilson at number 3, DeAndre Hopkins at number 4, Todd Gurley at number 5, Justin Houston at number 6, Allen Robinson at number 7, Brandon Marshall at number 8, Tyler Eifert at number 9, and Tyrann Mathieu at number 10. Those are the 10 players that will have the biggest bounce back seasons in 2017, headed by the one, the only J.J. Watt. Let me know what you guys think. Who will have the biggest bounce back season in 2017? Will it be Watt? Will it be Gronk? Will it be somebody else? It's Mitch of the Bottom Line View. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button. Gronk spike it. Subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos just like this one. And let me know again in the comment section what you thought of the video, what you thought of the placements, and also who's your biggest bounce back of 2017. It's Mitch of the Bottom Line View. Peace out, guys.